In this video, I would like to share with you a little bit of my story. I think it would be nice if you know who I am and what I went through, because maybe thanks to that you will see that some things you might have in common. To some things from my past maybe you can relate as well. And maybe you will notice that we are all the same. Very often we start in the same places. So as I said before, my name is Wojciech Tuchowski. I know it might be hard to pronounce, but it's a Polish name. I was born in Poland and I was growing up there and living there until I was more or less 25. Where I was born, it's a border with Slovakia and Ukraine. It's a very wild area, very isolated, like where my parents' house was, where I was living and growing up. We were actually a side of the village, so we had maybe 1 kilometer to a village that was 200 people. And nothing around us. The house was just in the middle of the forest and only hills, trees and wild animals around. So I was spending my time when I was a kid a lot in the nature. I was just running around the forest and always farther and farther, a little bit exploring what's farther, what's behind the hill, what's behind that river. And somewhere deep inside me, there was this desire to travel, desire to explore. But I was just going with my life like everyone else around. I didn't know anyone from my environment who would travel. I didn't meet anyone who would go further than maybe just to the border and back. So for me, that was something, at least then, maybe unachievable. And yes, I was just going with the life like everyone else, listening to the parents, listening to the teachers, that I first have to go to school, then I will go to the university, then I will get the job, then I will stay in the job for this amount of years, then maybe I'll be retired, then I can start traveling. And that was something that I took as a truth, but it was very sad truth. I didn't want to believe that. And I think deep inside I never believed that this is only possible way to travel. Now, there was also a little bit more darker side of me. Since I was a kid, I was taught how to suppress emotions and how to suppress every emotion. I had to learn how to suppress fear, how to suppress guilt, how to suppress shame, how to suppress anger, how to suppress all of my desires, how to suppress pride. All of these emotions I couldn't use. And the problem was that I had so much energy. Like people could say that I had ADD or ADHD. I was just hyperactive. And I had all this energy and I had to suppress all of that emotions. That was very hard. But from this perspective, from now, I can see that that was such a huge gift. That I was in that position. That I had to really learn how to suppress the emotions. Because this led me somewhere. First, this led me to running away from my life. Because of the amount of emotions I didn't want to experience, I was trying to escape the reality. I remember when I was very young, I was scared to go to school. And after school, I was scared to go home. I was like in between. I didn't have any safe space for me, kind of. And I had to run away from this reality because it was so uncomfortable. And I started to run away, first into alcohol. I was 11 when I started to drink, or 10. And by the age of 12, I was already... my parents found me when I was completely unconscious, completely drunk in my room. Then I went into smoking, into some drugs. I was using basically every sort of thing I could find to suppress, to numb myself. Because the reality that I was creating around me was too hard for me to deal with. By the age of 18, I was already, I could say, alcoholic. Because I couldn't go when I would see my friends somewhere in the restaurant or in the bar. I wouldn't be able to approach them and just talk with them, looking into the eyes. I would have to first go to the bar, drink maybe 2 shots, and then go to a group. That's how much insecure I was and unconfident. And yeah, I had problem with many addictions. I was really struggling. Very often I was just on my knees and crying to God and like praying, asking, please help me because I cannot deal with that anymore. And then I went to the army. I thought maybe army will be something that will help me to get better, to escape those bad habits, those addictions, this sense of not being worthy anything. And I went to the army and I found myself, wow, I'm really doing good job here. Like everyone tells me that I'm just perfect for this job, and I was really good at it. Why? Because in the army, it's very important to not be really vulnerable, not be very emotional. That's a quality that people actually desire in the army. And then I realized that I would like even something more, it was coming from the feeling that I'm not good enough yet. So I decided, okay, I want to join the special forces. And I started to apply to like the most elite units, probably in Europe. And then after 3 years of training, 3 years of hard training for the special forces, I passed the test. I was almost there where I thought my dreams were. That, oh my God, among these people, everyone is just probably so pure, so perfect. Everyone is just training, no habits, they have perfect life. Well, when I saw these guys, I saw myself, the one that was running away from the life. All of them I could see, they just running away into habits, into addictions, into adrenaline. And I knew this is not what I want. I thought that was my dream. I was going towards that goal for so many years, and then I realized this is not that. And in that moment, everything collapsed. My career, my education, I dropped the university because I was just a little step to finish the master degree, because in the same time I was studying, I dropped it. I broke with my partner at that time. The relationships with my parents went just completely down. And in one week, everything that was the worst I could think about happened. And I didn't know what is going on. For weeks I was just waking up, wanting to cry, but I couldn't cry, but I couldn't leave. I was seeing the world black and white. I didn't know what is going on with me. But then somehow I found about emotions. I've discovered something called letting go. And I've learned about suppressing emotions. I never heard about it before. I never heard about emotions, actually. And then I started to read the book of David Hawkins, Letting Go. I will be mentioning this book many times in this course. And everything started to get clear. I started to learn about emotions. I started to release them. I started to feel again the emotions that I didn't feel for so many years. First time I started to cry, since I was 10 probably. After 15 years, I started to cry like a child. And that was the best experience ever. I would never say before that I'll be so happy to cry. Before I was just, tough. I wanted to be a soldier. And then after a while, I was just crying, lying down on the ground and just crying like a child and feeling like never before. And all of this led me to actually start realizing my dreams. After a while, I left Poland. I healed most of the insecurities, most of the things that were blocking me from following my real passion, real dreams. And I left Poland. Of course, all the bad habits that I had before dissolved as well. only reason why I had those habits was because I was just running away from my emotions. And then I started to travel. I started to live in Canary Islands. I spent there half a year working as a diving instructor. Then I went to Costa Rica and I spent there a year and a half during pandemic. I was working as a sailor, I was working as a free diving instructor. Then I spent half a year in Iceland. I was planting trees there. Then I was living in Middle East. I was in Israel for a few months. I started to travel Asia. I went to Sri Lanka. I went to Indonesia. And then I went to Australia and I spent there 2 years in Western Australia. And I was making the money I could never even think about I will be able to make. I was realizing all my dreams from the childhood. And now I'm living in Mediterranean island of Spain, in a place where I couldn't even imagine can exist. In my backyard, I have mountains and caves that I can explore every day. And if I jump to a car and just drive 20 minutes, I'm on the coast and I can free dive in just beautiful, crystal clear water. And I'm living in a beautiful, beautiful house with an amazing partner. And in a few months from now, we are also expecting our little family to expand a little bit. So this is where I am right now. I would never even imagine that this few years ago. That was just 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and I was in this deep, deep, deep hole. And all of that happened thanks to the work I started to do. And I wouldn't actually call it work. I would call it something opposite. It's a relief. It's a relief. And all these experiences, all these tools, all these realizations that I had throughout those years, I wanted to collect, and finally I can do it. I can share it with you and just give you all the things that I think that they work the best. And this course is gonna be long. This course takes a while. But I can tell you that it's working. And I'm telling you that from my own experience and from the people that I also share this knowledge with. So again, if you find anything that you can relate to in my story, that's good. That means we are all the same. Usually we start in the same places. Very often we need to dive deep to then go up. And I'm here now to help you to do the same thing that I did, to just realize your dreams, your passions, and just live peaceful, comfortable, and effortless life. Effortless life. With no struggle, because struggle is not an option. Struggle is not necessary. The thing that we all heard, that only hard work can make your life satisfying? No. That's one of the biggest lies ever. And I'm gonna prove you that in this course. So, let me welcome you again, and let's start. Have fun, and see you in the next video.